and welcome to another Cardinals Nest, the show where we talk St. Mary's University athletics. I'm Dean Beckman, your faculty athletics representative. Donny Nadeau is our sports information director, and this is our last show before the Christmas and New Year's holidays. So Donny, as always, the semester goes really quickly.
Yes, it just flew by. It's hard to believe that we're already talking about the end of the first semester, but a lot of Cardinal athletics have gone on in the past couple of months, and now we get a little bit of a break. So Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year. And after this show, we'll see you in 2023.
And it's my favorite time of year because it's time I can say same to you and get away with it. Later on in the show, our guest will be women's basketball coach David Foley. We'll talk all things St. Mary's women's basketball. They're one of the hottest teams on campus right now as they're off to a 2-2 start. So we'll get the inside scoop from Coach Foley in a little bit here. So, Donny, though, let's start off with talking St. Mary's women's hockey because the gauntlet continues. I don't know how else to describe the start to their season other than a gauntlet as they took on number 1 ranked Gustavus this past weekend and came away with a couple of losses, but again, I think respectable showings, and that's kind of been the theme as we've talked about them throughout the season.
Yeah, I think that, and I've talked a lot to Coach Murray, and she always wants to preface, and she's perfectly correct in that, their record does not show the type of team they have, the talent that they have. They're a very good team. They're probably one of the best 1-9 teams in the country. I mean, they're a very talented team. It's just that this schedule has just been so incredibly tough. And you start out with 10 games against teams that are getting recognized in the national poll, and that's a tough way to start your season, especially when you've got a young team. And so her mission, her goal is to keep them together. 1-9 is a tough start for anybody, and you can say the glass is half full all you want, but when you're 1-9, you're 1-9. So her battle is going to be to keep them on keel and hopefully pick up a couple of wins in their last 2 games before Christmas break, come back and really rock and roll second semester. There's no doubt that this team is talented enough, and I think you said it with the way they played against Gustavus. The first game was 4-0, but they had an empty net goal, so it was really 3-0, and 3-0 the second day. And so I think that obviously, as we say all the time, you got to score goals. You're not going to win any games without scoring goals. But to hold a team like Gustavus, who had outscored their conference foes 45-4 before the play in St. Mary's, it shows you that they're a very tough team and worthy of their number 1 ranking. So I don't think there's anything to hold their heads down about. But they've got to turn around, generate some more offense, and pick up a couple of wins.
Yeah, you talked about how one of Coach Murray's tasks is to keep everybody's heads up and encourage them. I think with that team though, they have some really good leadership on that team. Jordan Keeley back for her 5th season. And the others, that's I think a mentally tough team that she's working with.
Absolutely,
there.
And I think that they know that they're better than their record shows, and I think that all it takes, and I can guarantee you when we bring Coach Foley on, he'll be able to echo it. All it takes is a couple wins, and all of a sudden you just turn things around. It's like a light switch pops off, and it's like boom, hey, we're not as bad as people think we are, and I think that hopefully they can do that against Lawrence, a couple of non-conference games against them, and then maybe take a little time off and regroup and come back for 2023 ready to go, because that's really when they hit the heart of their conference schedule. So there's still a lot of hockey to be played, and I'm sure that we won't be talking about a 1-9 team anymore in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Speaking of a light switch going off, men's hockey, they have won 3 straight to improve to 3-3 in the conference. 4-6-1 overall, and this was a team in need of kind of a confidence boost. They have come out, they've worked their way now into 3 consecutive victories.
Exactly what I said with women's hockey. They started out and they're 1-3 in conference, and they're kind of feeling down and feeling questioning themselves a little bit. Boom, they rattle off 2 wins against Gustavus, and all of a sudden they're 3-3 again, and 4-6-1 overall. They're right where they want to be. I've said it. I've been doing this many years, and I've always said, especially with men's hockey, because there's only 9 teams. If you can split every conference series, you're going to have a good shot at making the playoffs. And right now at 3-3, they basically have split their first 3 conference series, and one of those being Augsburg. So you get one of the top teams in the country out of the way. You're sitting at 3-3, and I really like where they're at right now. Great job against a team that they should have beaten because they were the better team, whether it be on paper or on the ice, having watched them play. But my only concern, and I bet you AJ could probably back me up on this, on Saturday you're up 4-0 after 2 periods, and with 10 minutes to go, it's all of a sudden it's 4-3. And so, you certainly don't want to be letting teams back into games like that. But a great sweep for them, and one that they surely needed.
Well, and as I look at the stats too, the last 3 games against Lawrence and then against Gustavus really helped, lower some of the stats totals that were getting a little bit out of hand. So shot percentage between St. Mary's and opponents starting to tighten a little bit more. Certainly some of the power play percentages are starting to improve. And so not only are the individual performances there, but that's showing up in some of the team stats.
No
as well.
question. And I think one of the positives that you've got with this team is they spread their offense out. You're not relying on 1 or 2 people to do all the scoring, and that's huge. I mean, that's very important. Kellen Therrelson did have a 2-goal game against the Gusties, which was his first as a Cardinal. So Kellen, congratulations on that. And I think that just offensively in general, they were really struggling there for 4 or 5 games of scoring goals, and then they go 3 goals, 4 goals, 4 goals. So 11 goals in their last 3 games. That's what they need to see. You're going to need 3-4 goals a game if you're going to be competitive in this conference. So,
and it helps getting goals from your defensemen like Kellen and Warner Young.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. It's not just the forwards that are. We've got some very, very talented defensemen, especially when it comes to the offensive end of the ice, and I think that that certainly helps. Their main concern has to be, though, to remember to play defense too.
And Trevor Schroeder, of his 5 points, 4 are from scoring goals. He leads the team in goal scoring.
Absolutely, yeah. He's having a great season as well, as are so many others. And that's the thing. It's like they just don't have to rely on 1 or 2 people. And it's great to get that scoring out of your defense, but your forwards are spreading it out, and a lot of people are getting into the scoring column and into the assist column. So yeah, they definitely have it turned around. 1 game left before break for them. So looking forward to that.
All right, let's go to basketball now. We'll be bringing in David Foley shortly to talk women's basketball here on the Cardinals Nest. But first, Donnie, men's basketball. They had a 4-game losing streak going on, some very tight games in there, but they came out and defeated an undefeated Carleton team 85-66. It was an all-around outstanding performance. One of the best dunks I've ever seen live from Raheem Anthony. And Owen Ziegler, back-to-back career highs for him. Even as we were talking now, he's hit another 3-pointer. It's unbelievable, and was really kind of getting the entire St. Mary's gym up and on their feet on Saturday.
It was a phenomenal performance on Saturday, and I think that, first off, congratulations to Owen. He was the MIAC Outstanding Offensive Player of the Week, which is a great honor, and really should come as no surprise. You scored 26 and 30 points. You knocked down 8 3-pointers in back-to-back games. Never happened before in program history. So, I mean, the guy is just hot. Yeah. That's all. And I think you're right. I mean, it's like you're sitting there watching the game, and there he goes, another 3, another 3, another 3. I mean, it was incredible.
When I was doing PA, I actually started laughing on the last one just because I couldn't believe he hit another one.
Well, he couldn't miss. I mean, the guy could not miss, and that's I think that more than anything, not only did it get them the win that they really needed heading into their last couple games before Christmas break, but I think it really shows that they're not the Raheem Anthony show.
Yeah.
They have other pieces to this puzzle, and that's going to be key for them down the stretch, because I'm sure that teams are looking at this team saying, hey, we'll shut down Raheem, and then say, hey, beat us with your other 4. Well, if you've got Owen Ziegler knocking down 3s left and right, you can't do that anymore, which is now going to bring maybe a player off of Raheem, allow him to do a little more of what he wants to do, and that is hopefully more of those dunks, because it was pretty incredible. But
and it's not just Owen that can hit the 3s. You've got Brayton Beisman, who's had some good games this year. Mason Klett off the bench can knock down some 3s, and Jabari Sawyer has been running a really nice point for the men. So.
their record is very deceiving because you look at the outcomes of their games. 3 games in a row that were decided by a combined 10 points. So they're in every game. They're in every game right to the finish. It's not like they're scoring 15 points in mop-up time down the stretch. These are games that are going right down to the wires. So hopefully a game like Carleton will just show them what it takes to win, and they can continue that as they move forward.
All right, so we're going to talk now about what's coming up in St. Mary's athletics. Not a whole lot left here before the Christmas holiday, but as we do that, we'll slide Coach Foley in here. So, Donnie, what's coming up?
It's a big week in Cardinal athletics. The women's basketball team plays St. Kate's on Wednesday in a conference game, and then this weekend the women's hockey team has got 2 games against Lawrence over in Appleton, Wisconsin, and our men's team, interestingly enough, will have senior day on Saturday in our game against Milwaukee School of Engineering, and it's the infamous teddy bear toss. And make sure people bring your teddy bears in, and on the first Cardinal goal, you get to toss them on the ice and cheer. Our Cardinal fans are great, and I think that this is going to be really a really fun event to watch, and hopefully we score more than 1 goal and come away with a victory. But that'll be their last game before the Christmas holidays, and then next week on Wednesday, the women's Saturday, basketball, both of them. Coach Foley will love to talk about the trip to Concordia. I know how much they like that, but they both go to Concordia on Saturday, and then next Wednesday they'll close out the first half of their season. The men will be at La Crosse on Wednesday, and then the women will be home against Stevens Point, and then it's Christmas break before Coach Foley heads to Memphis, Tennessee, and then the men will play North Park on the 30th in Chicago.
You mentioned the teddy bear toss. I always make sure that mine's well fed before I bring it so that it's good and stuffed.
Yeah. Good one, Dean. Good one.
All right. On that note,
we
bring in women's basketball coach David Foley. David, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, excited to be here. And glad it was this week as opposed to the week before. But like you said, just to start to come around, and we've only played 4 games, and to really see some players really take some big steps for us, and it was a fun week.
We talked about that. Actually, we talked about that last week when we had Coach Fano on, and that, because of the way the schedule sets up with the MIAC, and you only get 3 non-conference games, taking that trip really kind of makes it tough for you guys to do anything early in the season. Because you only have those 3 that aren't scheduled by the MIAC. How do you, as a coach, make sure that your team is ready come the start of the season? Because you really don't have that pre-game preparation that some other teams get.
So we're able to have 2 scrimmages or scrimmage/exhibition. So we were able to scrimmage in a D3 team in Iowa, and we had an exhibition against Winona State. But it is a challenge. Our first game of the year was against the reigning conference champ, and at their place, and we just weren't necessarily ready to play at that point. And they had already had 2 games. So it's that balance for us. And our program has not left the region since 2010. So it was a big priority of mine to get our team to go down to Nashville, Tennessee. To go down there and get an experience and spend time together as a team and travel somewhere south at the end of December here in Minnesota is always a good thing as well. But to balance that too. And our 3rd non-conference game will be next week against Stevens Point. So just a chance to play another quality team from that conference across the river. And I think that was a decision we had to make, where we could have played those games before the conference season started, but balance and schedule and experience, that's the route we went this year.
Well, while we're talking about the Nashville trip, I do want to touch on that. I want to get to the 2 wins that you've had as well, so we'll do that as well. But on the Nashville trip, MIT is one of the teams you're going to be playing. How did you line up the 2 teams, Penn State, Behrend, and then MIT? Yeah,
so there's a company that hosts tournaments really all across the country. The men's team went to one in Vegas. Kind of similar, where we bring a collection of schools coming in, so we didn't get to pick or choose or organize many of who we play, but there's, I think, 7 schools that are coming down on the women's side to all compete against each other, and we're going against 2 quality teams, 2 quality institutions, and Penn State Behrend is a state school similar to maybe the UW system that we're familiar with, and then MIT, one of the top academic institutions in the country, it'll be interesting what their play calls are and kind of how they have different equations. No, but we're excited to go against 2 very well coached teams, and teams that are just different. We see the same teams, see the same players, and where we recruit and around. So it's nice to kind of get out and give our players a different opportunity. And we've got a team that we're excited to bring on the road and show the different regions around the country what we have to offer here in Minnesota.
Where will you play there?
Yep, so we'll play at Welch College. It'll be, it's about 20 minutes north of Nashville. And then we'll stay in Nashville and have some team time and have some different experiences as a group. But yeah, to have the 2 games just about 20 minutes north of Nashville.
Well, I've been chomping at the bit to talk to you about the St. Olaf game because I've been here for 28 years and I have never seen a fourth quarter like you guys put together. You go into the fourth quarter down by 19.
Yep.
I mean, as a coach, first off, how do you keep your players even into the game down by 19 with 10 minutes to go, and yet you pull off a 62-60 win? It had to be one of the craziest games that you've seen as a coach.
Yeah. And I wish I could sit here and say that we had this great scheme or we just changed what we were doing, but the players just stayed true to what we do. And they bought into just competing hard, and we guarded. I think that was the main thing. To hold a team like St. Olaf to 3 points in the quarter is hats off to our players. And that basket came at a minute 18 in the game, and it was a ball that we kind of fumbled off a rebound, and they just picked it up and laid it in, so they didn't get a basket in their half-court offense that entire quarter. And we took advantage of when a team's up by 20 in the fourth quarter, it's natural to kind of relax a little bit. And we've been on the flip side of that, where we've kind of given up leads over the last few years in that fourth quarter, where you're kind of just trying to get to the finish line. And our players just were not going to walk out of there without giving their best, and it led to a win. I'd prefer the Saturday after that, where we're leading all the way through, as opposed to what we were. But I think it's just that kickstart, that jump that we need, that we are talented. And like you talked about with the men's team earlier, we've got an outstanding 5th-year Brooklyn Paulson who's going to continue to lead us. But it's not just Brooklyn on the court, and we had players really step up and do some special things in that fourth quarter, and then that really propelled us into Saturday as well.
Well, and I think that there's no surprise about Brooklyn, Ashley Strevler, Izzy, but I think the play of Alyssa Coleman has really stepped up, and she equaled her career high against St. Olaf, and then she had 17 against on Saturday.
Yeah.
How important is that people are realizing that, hey, I'm a part of this, and I can step up and be, I can take Brooklyn's spot as the leading scorer and let her kind of do her own thing. Yeah. How important is that?
It's huge. And I think for Alyssa and really all of our players, they're not freshmen anymore. And even Caitlin Cruz, coming off of the COVID year for her she was a freshman in terms of basketball last year. And all of our, Izzy and Alyssa and Grayson, and down the line of those freshmen, now sophomores, that played a huge role. Even Ashley, coming off of her knee injury, kind of getting herself back into it, and now we're just at a point where we have a little bit more kind of swagger and confidence to it, that we know what to do. And it doesn't have to be just one person out there, that we can find who's the hot hand, who has the good matchup, and really attack that way. And Alyssa has learned and just kind of developed herself into how special she can be. And I think that tandem of her and Caitlin Cruz kind of playing in that 5 position, kind of splitting the minutes there, and both bringing some very strong strengths but very unique, is going to be a difficult matchup when we think about teams approaching how they play us.
Well, one thing I've noticed with Alyssa, what her skill set brings is the ability to draw fouls.
Yep.
She's so good at getting to the basket. She finds herself at the foul line a lot and knocks down her free throws.
Yeah. And she's a left-handed player in that spot, and that's a little bit unique, especially for a post player that we go against, to have to guard at the elbow, have to guard at the perimeter. And she can get to the basket in one dribble about as fast as anybody that I've ever coached. So for her just to show a shot fake or a jab and just get downhill, that's very difficult for a 5 in our league to guard. And if they put a smaller person on her, then she's able to go around the block and play back to the basket. So she's got a lot of offensive versatility. And now we just got to get her to knock those free throws in. And she's in the gym all the time getting those in. So if she can get to the point where she's a 75% free throw shooter and being able to finish around the rim, then we're going to have a pretty dangerous offensive weapon there.
And your depth. Your depth, this year 5, this is probably the deepest, talent-wise, the deepest team that you've had. Coaching, that's got to make it a little bit easier for you, too, in that, if somebody doesn't have a hot hand, you're able to put somebody in that is of the same skill level compared to other years where you've had to put somebody in that maybe dropped you down in terms of skill.
Yep. Yes, it's exciting, but then we're also trying to find places for everybody, too. A lot of players on our team might have played 25, 30 minutes in years past, where now they're in a position where it could be 15, it could be kind of in that range, and they just have to compete. And I think that's the exciting thing for us as a coach is we have competition. And they know that practice settings are important. They know when they get opportunities in the game, they need to go out there and they can help their team. Our guard depth right now is a big strength of ours. That transition into our first week into that second week of conference, we started to pick up a little bit more and use some of that depth and pressure teams a little bit. We're not the biggest and strongest team inside the three-point line. So if we can extend the pressure beyond half court and make teams farther away from the basket to initiate their offense, that's only going to help us. We gave up 80-plus points to Gustavus and then 70-plus to McAllister, and we're just not going to be successful allowing teams to score that many points. So really focusing on our defense, and that's going to be a priority for us tonight against a good St. Kate's team that wants to score around the basket, and we have to be able to take that away.
Well, one thing I noticed in that 19-point comeback win against St. Olaf is I think conditioning played a part and your depth played a part because, as you said, it was sort of your defensive ball pressure that was able to lead to some turnovers, lead to some easy baskets, and help in that comeback win. But it's because you play so many guards, especially. You've got Maggie Newhouse, who played significant minutes in that game. Emma Miller off the bench played significant minutes. Tegan Hanch came in and helped you out. And then I noticed a lot of those players also got some significant minutes against Carleton on Saturday. So I think it helps you as a coach find out exactly what you have in those kinds of games.
Yep. You know? And in our league, every starting five is really darn good. So if we can extend the game a little bit and get into teams' benches and wear teams down and get to the free throw line and really use that depth, that's going to be our advantage. And then we have a player like Brooklyn that we can really initiate offense with. She plays kind of that point forward almost for us. We'll post her, she'll shoot, she'll go off the dribble. We can do pretty much everything there. And then we can have Ashley spacing the floor. You have Izzy being able to attack the basket with Alyssa coming on. Caitlin Cruz has started to really finish around the rim. So if we can really just lock in our defense, the offensive talent is going to be there. And then we're able to get some easy baskets out of our defense and get out in transition, and then the half court, it's going to make it that much easier for us.
And you've got one player studying abroad, and Macy will be back then come spring semester, so that'll give you some more guard depth as well. Yep,
and Macy to come back and somebody that's steady with the ball and can really guard and do some of those things. So hopefully she's overseas watching this now and going up and down the court and get on the track a little bit, get your wind up. But
this show
we're
is
excited
international.
For that. Yep. Yep, good.
It sure
a lot of
is.
views and overseas, so that's good.
You hinted on it, but in past years, your interior game has probably been your Achilles heel, so to speak. And that's not taking anything away from Jada or anybody else who's been interior, but you have two this year who are really kind of making you an inside-out team where you don't have to do everything from the three-point line. You've got that ability to get inside.
Yeah, and I think when we started to find more success is when, even with last year with Jada Biermeyer, our lone senior, and Caitlin Cruz started to come around, and it became that almost tandem or together. It's really hard for one post player to really control all 40 minutes. So for them to buy into that, and then we have Val Higgins that is coming back from injury, Riley Schierenbeck, a freshman, who brings a 6'1", 6'2", long wingspan. So there's even more back behind there that can help make that more of a unit where, yes, it's Caitlin Cruz or Alyssa or whoever has that, but it's really they're doing it together. And they can have that camaraderie and really have that togetherness, and that's where it becomes special, that they're supporting each other and being there for each other. And it's fun to see Alyssa drives to the basket and puts one in. Caitlin Cruz is the first one off the bench cheering for her, and vice versa. And when we start having those kind of tandems is when things get pretty special for us.
I don't want to single out any individual freshman necessarily, but one that has gotten a lot of playing time, and in some ways I almost see as kind of positionless because she's such a good athlete. You can probably put her anywhere, and that's Grace Schaefer. Maybe doesn't do any one thing outstanding, but can kind of do it all for you. I've seen her score some points. She's gotten some key rebounds, and she's just kind of all over the court. Good athlete.
Great athlete, and her older sister here was a soccer player for Coach Rizzo, and it's a very athletic family. And for her, it was a little bit late of a recruiting process. It wasn't somebody that we followed for years and years, and there was a family connection, and we went out and saw her play, and saw her once. And it's like, well, she's pretty good. I don't know where she'll play. And we went out and saw her again. It's like she can be really, really good, and just her athleticism. She's 5'8", 5'9", can move. I mean, just the way her hips can turn and she can keep people in front. It's a little unconventional at times, but as far as an athletic ability and rawness to her, she's got that. And offensively, she's going to continue to learn, and she's very aggressive right now too. She averages about 2 shots a minute almost when she gets out there, which we'll continue to work on. But she has no fear. Yeah. And for a freshman to come in and to have that, and at the end of the St. Olaf game to be on the floor in the last 20 seconds when we need to stop because of her athleticism, understanding that IQ and that basketball kind of savvy and understanding what the college game means is going to come, but she has abilities that we're going to need. Yeah. And that position, again, is deep with us, with Grayson kind of being in that starting position now, and then we kind of rotate through. Tegan Hant has been absolutely outstanding, rebounding and defending in that position. And again, it's a group of players that can all work together and use their strengths and support each other. That's what builds great teams, and that's what we're excited to keep working towards.
I think what's interesting, and if we don't have you on again, I figure I want to take this opportunity. But we've talked about so many players on your team, except for the one that is your superstar, and that's Brooklyn. Talk a little bit about what she has meant to you yeah. as a coach over the last 4+ years now.
Yeah, and for me, we've talked years and years about her. And when I first got the job here at St. Mary's, and I was still down in Louisiana, that was, you need to call Brooklyn Paulson and get just to have that relationship with her. And it's been ups and downs. We've had years where record-wise was not where we wanted to be, and she's never wavered in her work ethic to continue to add to her game. When her freshman year, now she had Brandy Blattner and some talent around her where she could just be a shooter. And then her sophomore year, it was where we had Shaylee Vessel in that spot that was our leading scorer, and she was able to kind of play off of that. And then the last 2 years, it's been she has to do everything on the floor offensively, and she's built herself into that in the weight room, working on her game. If you would have seen her as a freshman, to think now she's a starting almost forward and post player for us at times is all credit to her. And the big thing for us this year is we need her to be a playmaker. That we know teams are going to key on her. She knows that. And then learning how to play off of that, still looking for your opportunities to score to help us win, but how can we set up our teammates as well? And Carleton's a great example for that. You look at her individual offensive game and her shooting game, probably not the best that she would want to have. Missed a couple shots around the rim, she had some open looks, but still found a way to score 10 points, have 9 rebounds and 7 assists. And to think about her progression as a player, as a freshman all the way into her 5th year, to have a game where she has 7 assists and leads us to a win, and have 9 rebounds when she didn't get some of the looks that she wanted offensively that she'd normally get and put in. I mean, that's a credit to her and how special she is.
And I've noticed she's just been more vocal on the court, sort of directing players where to go or what to do in a certain situation. I've definitely noticed that sitting courtside this year. Donnie, we've got time for one more question.
We would be remiss because Coach Fano kind of
I thought this might be
congratulations are in order.
Thank you.
You just were recently married. Talk a little bit about your first couple of months of married life.
Yeah, it's been great. So I've got an amazing, just beautiful, supportive wife who was a basketball player in her background as well, and was a skills trainer in Minneapolis, and has now moved down here as a 4th grade teacher at the local elementary school, and she's the JV coach and varsity assistant at Winona High. So it's been fun over the last 2 years to kind of share that coaching passion and just being around basketball, and she's always front row at the games, and sometimes you got to tell her to quiet down a little bit, but no, she's just a great supporter and just the best teammate I could ask for. And yeah, the first couple months here of marriage have been great. We had a beautiful wedding out in Hastings, Minnesota, and yeah, it was a really special day, and we're excited once our respective seasons are over to get out and have a honeymoon and kind of celebrate.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably don't see each other too much.
Yeah, so which is fine. I think we're both okay being independent, and then the time we do spend together. Sundays are usually our day that we're together, and that's usually a Target and a Starbucks, and look at all the candles that we've seen every time we go to Target, that kind of day. But no, it's been a special time, and yeah, I'm very, very fortunate to have her in my life.
All right, Coach Foley, thanks for joining us. Good luck here the rest of the season.
Go Cardinals.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching the Cardinals Nest. Thanks to our producer, AJ Ruskowski, as well. Be sure to tune in again for another Cardinals Nest. We'll be back in 2023.